Welcome back. In this lecture, we will understand how to use filter function. And the purpose of a filter function is to modify or filter the existing wrapper set. So it means it does not find direct or indirect children. So we can understand this filter function with the help of an example. So I'm going to open my home.html file. So that is the home.html, right? And I'm going to execute my query when I click on make changes button. So let me write down a query here and then I will explain how does it work. So I'm saying that I want all anchor tags, and then I'm writing a filter, and that is my filter function. And then I'm going to apply a color here, and I'm saying that I will apply a red color. Now we need to understand this query step by step. So in the first step, dollar function will execute, and we are saying that we want all anchor elements from the document. So this dollar function is going to return a wrapper set of all anchor elements. And then we are saying that we want to apply a filter on the original wrapper set, and we are only interested in the even positioned anchor elements in the original wrapper set. And finally we are going to apply a red color. First we need to check out that how many anchor elements do we have. So we have 6 anchor elements like learning, jQuery. Second anchor element is home, then about, then sitemap, then upload and query. So total we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We have total 6 anchor elements. So dollar function is going to return a wrapper set of 6 elements. So let me draw a wrapper set here so that you can have better idea of how this query works. Now this is the wrapper set returned by the dollar function, and then we are saying that we want to apply a filter on this original wrapper set, and then this filter function is going to return a new wrapper set, and we call it a modified wrapper set. And this filter function is saying that we want all even positioned anchor elements from the original wrapper set. So let's see that where are the original where are the even positioned wrapper sets, right? So we need to find out all even positioned anchor elements. So you can see that even positioned anchor elements are available at index 0, and then at index 2, and then at index 4. So these are the even positioned anchor elements, and the filter function is going to return all these elements in a new wrapper set. So let me draw a new wrapper set here. So in the modified wrapper set, we will have 3 anchor elements. So I have drawn the new or the modified wrapper set, and finally we are going to apply a red color on the elements which are available in the modified wrapper set. So I can say that the red color will be applied on these anchor elements, right? So the bottom line is, in this query we are going to have multiple wrapper sets. So one is the original wrapper set, and then there is a modified wrapper set returned by the filter function. So let's execute our query. Well, I'm going to erase everything here. So now we are going to save the document and let's execute it. So this is my browser. So let's refresh your HTML file. Well, you can also consider this menu bar as a wrapper set, right? You can also consider this, and you can see that in this wrapper set we have 6 anchor elements. So let me draw here. Well, you can consider it as a original wrapper set returned by the dollar function, and then a filter function will apply on this original wrapper set, and we will get a new wrapper set of even positioned elements, and the even positioned elements are number z and item at index 0, the item at index 2, and the item at index number 4, right? That means the red color will be applied on only these 3 elements. So let's run the code and see the output. So now I'm going to click on the make changes button. So when I click on the make changes, see we got red color at index number 0, at index number 2 and at index number 4. So we got an exact result. Now imagine you have a completely different requirement and you want to modify the existing filter based on your own requirement, and you do not have a matching jQuery filter in the existing jQuery library. So what would you do in that condition? Unfortunately, we have a provision for this in a jQuery library. So let me give you an example for that. So first I am going to erase everything here. Now go back to your code here, and now I am going to give you another example. Now imagine that your requirement is I need only those anchor elements in the wrapper set where the length of the hypertext is greater than 10. So in this situation, I do not have any matching filter in the jQuery library. So I need to write the code in my own way. So what I can do, so go back to your code and let me show you the document first. So here I have the hypertext learning jQuery and its length is greater than 10, and this is the second hypertext and its length is less than 10, and likewise in the all remaining anchor elements the length of the hypertext is less than 10. So we have only one matching anchor element where the hypertext is greater than 10, right? So we want this kind of filter. So let me explain how can you do it. Now rather than providing a ready-made filter here, so I can pass a function in the filter, right? And then here I need to fetch the data. So I should write dollar this dot text, and then I'm going to apply a condition. If data dot length is greater than 10, then I should return true, otherwise I should return false. So now let me explain what is happening here. And to understand this example, I need to draw a wrapper sets once again. So this is the wrapper set returned by the $A. So I can say that it is my original wrapper set, and then this filter function, it will execute for every anchor element available in the original wrapper set, right? Assume that this filter function is going to execute for the first anchor element. So let me underline this one. So this is the first anchor element, and in that case $this, it will represent the first anchor element in the wrapper set, right? And then I am going to get the text of first anchor element, and once I got text of first anchor element, I am checking what is the length of the first anchor element. So if it is greater than 10, I'm going to return true, and if we are returning true, then in that case the filter function is going to hold that object, right? In case the filter function is returning a false, so in that case your filter function will simply ignore that anchor element, right? So for every true statement, filter function is going to hold that object, right? So that is the meaning of this filter function. So you know that we have only single anchor element where the length of the hypertext is greater than 10, and that is the first anchor element. So let me highlight here. So this is the anchor element where the condition is true. Now this filter function is going to execute for the second anchor element, and that anchor element is this one. Let me underline here, and then you will get the text of this anchor element by writing $this dot text, right? Fine. So now $this will represent the second anchor element in the wrapper set, because this is the anchor element for which the filter function is executing. And then I will again check, if the length is greater than 10, return true, otherwise return false. So finally this filter function is going to return all those objects where the condition was true, right? So let me draw another wrapper set here. So that is the new wrapper set returned by the filter function, and in this wrapper set I have only single anchor element. Finally, we are going to apply the color on this anchor element. So that is part of a modified wrapper set, you can say, right? So let me erase everything here, and let's go back and refresh your page. Now it's time to execute the code. So let me save my document first and then open your home.html file. So let me refresh it. So this is the original web page. So now I am going to click on the make changes. So when I click on the make changes, only single anchor element where the hypertext is greater than 10, it should be in red color. So let me click here. See, I got a single anchor element which is in red color because here the hypertext is greater than 10, right? So I hope you know the difference between hyperlink and hypertext, right? So when you write some URL in a href, so that is known as hyperlink, and the text which is written within an anchor element, it is known as hypertext, right? So this is all about filter function. Let me give you one another example that you can have uh, some other requirement, like you want to modify your existing wrapper set where the first letter of the hypertext is capital A. Okay, so I can write data dot char at, and I'm saying what is the letter at index position 0, and if that letter is capital A, then I should return true. And if the statement is true, your filter function is going to hold that object in a modified wrapper set. Otherwise, the filter function is going to ignore that anchor element, right? So let me save this and go back, refresh your page. Now if I click on the make changes, see, only the about hypertext is in red color because it starts with the letter A, right? So this way you can make your own on conditions or your own code, and based on that code you can modify the existing filter, right? So thank you very much, and in the next lecture I will explain you the concept of chaining, right? And because the concept of chaining is very important.